All right, everyone, thank you for joining us again for the last half hour of the Generation Y Conservative Show. Listen, I only have one ad for what's going on with this half hour and who it's brought to you by. It's actually brought to you by Mojo 50, the radio station that I am on. Mojo 50 will be hitting the road this summer, and our first stop will be in July in Wake Forest, North Carolina. We'll be there to help celebrate the grand opening of the Tar River Arms new retail location. Show hosts with live remote broadcasts will be on hand with prizes and giveaways, so plan to come out and meet the faces behind the voices and shop for your next gun purchase. Now, most of us are actually in radio so that we don't have to show our faces, to be honest with you. Sorry, I'm gonna hold that there. But stay tuned for more details. I don't know if they've actually announced this yet. I know about when it's going to be, and it should be pretty interesting for their opening of their show there. If you are celebrating an event at your business and would like the Mojo 50 crew to be on hand to help, let us know by contacting info@mojo50.com. That's info@mojo50.com. And I don't think I'll be at the Wake Forest grand opening, unfortunately. I tried to plan on being there. As I had mentioned before, I have this speech I'm giving at the Second Amendment rally tomorrow, and then again, I don't know the exact date, so I don't want to commit to anything yet, but the day after or before this opening, it is actually, I'm giving a speech at a women's group at a church, and I'm trying to figure out, I think they had decided that they wanted me to speak on religion and politics and the crossover of the two and how they go together, and how people are very wrong when they say that those are two things that we shouldn't talk about, and certainly not two things that you ever want to mix together. I don't believe that's the case, and I believe that that's a social wedge that politicians use to split us into our own little voting camps and everything. So I'll be talking to them about those issues in regards to religion and politics, I believe the day before that grand opening at that Tar River Arms down in North Carolina. So that's going to be a trip that I unfortunately just can't make, but I'm hoping that businesses up in the Northeast here actually take advantage of this and have the Mojo crew come out, because I would love to actually get in touch with, see in person some of my co-hosts and everything. As I had mentioned before, if you tune in to Defenders Live at 9 p.m. on the 18th of this month, which is a Tuesday, I will actually be sitting in as a co-host with Steven on that show on the Mojo Network and hanging out with them as well. So that's really cool. Okay. Last half hour, we were talking about abortion, of course, after the last 3 weeks of doing it. Shauna here had a comment over the break here. It says, she said, fathers should have a voice over the life of their unborn child, not just beta males pandering to the feminists. But then again, a loving, caring father in the family home doesn't work for the left agenda. Sean, good job. Good marrying there, man. She's giving better comments than you. You really got to step up your your politics here. Your wife is blowing you away there. Okay. We are going to get into, so one of the most out there, okay, in a good way, laws that were passed recently was the Alabama law in regards to banning abortion down there, okay? And that's what threw up this whole political upheaval and caused a big rift in social media between friends and everything. I didn't even, you know what I did? I posted on my personal page. All I said was, thank you, Alabama. That's it. I didn't put a link to an article. I didn't put anything. And all I caught was hell online and text messages and stuff. I'm not going to apologize. I'm not going to apologize for standing up for babies' lives. I just went over that the last half hour. If you feel like you're going to make me feel bad about my position on being pro-life, you have another thing coming. And you may say it's because I'm a male and I don't have to deal with the consequences and everything. But to say that my personal story of being the product of a rape is a rare occurrence when 28 people in my family are of the same origin, and that's just in my family. How many other families are out there with the same type of story? How many families are out there with stories of, getting to the abortion clinic and changing their mind? Having God come into their life, speak into their ear, speak to them and say, turn around and go home. You can do this. You can do this, right? Before I get into this Alabama law and everything in regards to child molesters, the one thing I do want to say is there's a big difference out there in regards to how people approach abortion, okay? You could take a very angry approach to it and stand outside and protest out of a Planned Parenthood and hold up signs of aborted babies and their body parts in disarray and everything. Personally, I feel like fear and hatred are not the way to change people's hearts and minds, especially if there's any type of underlying trying to bring people to Christ and understand the overall love of everything, right? Personally, myself, I believe that sitting down, giving an opportunity, setting up a table, coffee stand outside of a Planned Parenthood area, not obviously on the premises or anything, and just opening up a conversation. Hey, sit down. I know why you're going in there, right? You're going in there because you're considering an abortion, or you've already made up your mind to have an abortion, but it is not too late. And I just want to tell you that there are other options that aren't being sold to you, that you are being sold on an idea by a corporation that makes money, that primarily makes their income by aborting babies. It is an abortion mill, okay? And that's the only way that they make their money. And why is it, as Trump said, that we're spending so much money and allocating money in the millions to Planned Parenthood when they turn around in every election cycle, and in the last one gave, $250 million to Democrat politicians to help them run and everything? Well, if they're spending that much money on political campaigns, but asking for it from the government to help support and subsidize abortions, why are we even giving it to them if it's going right back to the politicians? It's like this circular, sick, demonic relationship between the left party and Planned Parenthood. It's unbelievable. Excuse me. I have some crack and rum in my Coke, and that's honest. That's the honest truth. But it's just crazy that we have that, and we know why they're going in there. They're going in there to have an abortion. There are other means of adoption and raising the child, okay? But they don't sell you on those ideas, because when you go in for a consultation, their main objective, like any salesperson, is to get the sale of abortion. Okay, that being said, there's atrocities that happen out there, okay? Rape is a horrible thing. I am not going to sit here and diminish the fact that rape is a detestable, evil act perpetrated on men and women, okay? It's certainly mostly women, but it happens to men a lot in prison situations and stuff too. That being said, along the same disgusting lines, you have child molesters. Well, this is according to Sean makes a good point. He said, if I have a gun to your head and make you stand still while an accomplice shoots you, I am an accessory to murder. Yep, I agree with you. Okay, here's the article. Alabama lawmakers pass bill that would chemically castrate child molesters before parole. Do you agree or disagree? We got a couple people still tuned in here. I know that this runs a little back on timing, so you're about 20 seconds away from me. I'm going to open that up to you. Do you believe that we should have a policy of chemical castration of child molesters before they get out on parole? And then I'll read your answers as we go through this. Alabama lawmakers have passed a bill that would require pedophiles to undergo chemical castration as a condition of their parole. If Governor Kay Ivey decides to sign the bill into law, it would apply to people over the age of 21 who have been convicted of sexually assaulting minors, according to CBS affiliate WIAT-TV reporting. Republican State Representative Steve Hurst introduced the bill, which is known as HB 379. Why do these bills always sound like Star Wars droids, by the way? Hearst said convicted pedophiles, quote, have marked this child for life and the punishment should be fit for the crime. Yes. Sorry, I don't want to sway your opinion. So he has introduced similar legislation before in hopes that it will make potential sex offenders think twice. I had people call me in the past when I introduced it and said, don't you think this is inhuman? I asked them, what's more inhuman than when you take a little infant child and you sexually molest that infant child when the child cannot defend themselves or get away, and they have to go through all the things they have to go through. If you want to talk about inhumane, that's inhumane. If we do something of this nature, it would deter something like this happening again in Alabama and maybe reduce the numbers, according to Hearst. Okay. Opening up for your opinion there. Chemical castration. I thank God when I heard about this, it was on the radio and they were describing what it is and not me looking it up. Okay. I mean, if you tell me chemical castration a couple days ago, I would have been like, I don't know what that fully entails. Apparently it's putting chemicals on the penis and it shrivels it up into non-use anymore. In that case, yes. Personally, I'm all for it. Here's the problem. There is one problem. What about wrongly convicted people? It's out there. There's a percentage of people that go to prison that are wrongfully convicted that didn't actually do the crimes and aren't the ones that are guilty. As a matter of fact, it's part of that whole Me Too movement. Now, there's certainly people that are part of that movement that have their stories that you can't diminish or take away from. But there's also stories wrapped up in there of people, guys trying to flirt and being accused of a sexual assault, okay? Just by talking to a woman and trying to hit on her and flirt with her and everything. We're getting to a point where these types of things, wrong convictions, are happening more and more often, okay? If a person is wrongly convicted of molesting a child and they serve their time, chemical castration, especially if they're innocent, obviously we're all going to say no to that, right? But how do we know? So there has to be something in place in regards to that helps identify situational awareness, right? If you are caught, so to speak, quite literally with your pants down in regards to doing this kind of thing, chemical castration, absolutely on the table. If it's hearsay, and there's a shadow of a doubt, there needs to have a discussion. The discussion needs to be had at that point. But yeah, cruel and unusual, yes, but these people had a choice, and their choice led them down this path. According to someone else that I heard talking about this, chemical castration actually changes the hormones in that person, which a lot of times the hormones actually attribute to the type of behavior that they have. So it might make them kind of more docile in regards to that evil nature that they have within them as well. No one got back to me. No one wants to step up and give me their opinion on chemical castration, huh? It's 11:30 on a Friday night. I understand. No one wants to get that heavy and deep into it. Okay, this is according to Fox News here. It says, Dems fume over Trump plans to address public from Lincoln Memorial on July 4th. Here we go. Democrats on Capitol Hill are fuming over President Trump's plan to deliver a speech at the Lincoln Memorial during the traditional July 4th celebration on the National Mall, saying that the event should appear non-political. I don't think he came out with his speech, that's for sure. And how he is the president of everybody in the country. Sean, you're too late. You're too late with your opinion. No, I'm kidding. It's slippery slope. I agree with you. I do agree with you. But at the same time, They're evil. The U.S. Park Police confirmed this week that Trump planned to attend this year's celebration, which typically brings thousands to the nation's capital. This is according to House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, the Democrat of Maryland. President Trump's efforts to insert politics into a celebration of our nation's history is extremely alarming. Forcing taxpayers to foot the bill for what amounts to be a political rally is irresponsible and a misuse of funds. I strongly urge the president to reconsider his proposed event. As I said before, he is the president of all people, and Steny Hoyer and Nancy Pelosi can quite frankly kiss the American ass of the people because they want to make an issue out of absolutely everything. And it's getting to this sickness level, right? We have waited for 2 years on this Mueller report. The Mueller report comes out and they can't find anything. And instead of letting the issue go, the Democrats continue to shoot themselves in the foot and pursue impeachment measures based on non-material, non-information, something that isn't there, something that they're grasping at straws at. They have lost their damn mind, okay? If you talk to the average Democrat voter, I'm talking about JFK, Bill Clinton, old school, back in the 90s type Democrat voter, they are so sick of the way that the liberals and left are acting in Congress right now and pursuing this impeachment, they will tell you it's over. Get over it. Start focusing on, you want me to look up? Start focusing on the 2020 race and about what you are going to do. Isn't it about time that we start getting to politicians that tell you what they want to do, not what the other person is accusing another person on the other side of doing? It's easy to sit and judge someone else and point out all the flaws of their nature. But if you're putting nothing on the table to offer to the American people, then what are we voting for? Anti the other person? The Democrats are giving nothing, okay? They're not giving nothing. They're actually giving everything, right? Everything for free. Healthcare for free. Education for free. Open up the borders. Let everyone pour through there and give all them welfare for free on the backs of the American people. Even if we taxed the top 20% at 100% of their income level, you wouldn't be able to pay for half of the things that the Democrats are pushing for. So, of course, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is the type of person that would say, well, we just need to print more money. Why doesn't she just go into every monopoly board that she can find in a toy store and start paying for things that way too, right? She would probably, don't suggest that to her because she might actually do it, okay? Hoyer is among several House Democrats who wrote a letter to Trump on Thursday asking him to abandon his plans, saying they worry it will, quote, create the appearance of a televised partisan campaign rally on the Mall at public expense. In addition to drawing the administration's attention to the cost resource impacts, the logistical headaches this will cause, we are respectfully asking the president to make himself part of this great celebration rather than attempting to make this great celebration about him. In that respect, let's go to Ilhan Omar, one of the other Democrats. Ilhan Omar is one of the 2 Muslim representatives that are currently in Congress. The other one would be Rashida Tlaib. I don't know if it's smoky in this room right now or if it's my contacts drying up. Either way, it's concerning. Ilhan Omar violated campaign finance rules, investigation fines as more questions about tax filings arise. Representative Omar repeatedly violated state rules when she used campaign funds to pay for personal out-of-state travel, as well as help on her tax returns, and must reimburse her former campaign committee nearly $3,500. Now, listen, I'm going to make this a quick topic here. $3,500 is not that much money. The fact that she used campaign money illegally is the point. It doesn't matter if it's $10, $3,500, or $1 million. I'm about to sneeze, I'm sorry. The fact that she did this illegally shows her character. And on top of that, they're talking about going back about, there was another article, I want to say 9 years of bad tax filing or something like that. She's going to have to pay fines and everything. This is just a showing of bad character. And what we're dealing with in Congress right now, it just drives me nuts. And she's also one of the representatives right now that has been back and forth on anti-Semitic behavior and responses. And every time we have people in the media point out to conservatives, well, she didn't really mean it that way, and can't you give her another chance? And she apologized. Every time she apologizes, she turns around the next week and makes another anti-Semitic remark. Like, this woman has made it a point to bash Israel as much as possible and support the I forget the BD, the one movement, the Palestinian movement. I always forget it because it sounds like bondage, BDSM or something like that. But Rashida Tlaib is also the other one who has talked about that we're going to impeach the effer when responding to a crowd during her campaign rally and talking about President Trump. So obviously we have something going on in the Democratic Party, and I think that's something else that we can actually talk about. There is a divide in the political parties right now on the left and the right, okay? You have the establishment Republicans that don't agree with the conservatives and Trump and the Tea Party activists within the party. And there's a big divide there, and if that can't be healed, there's a chance that Trump might not win in 2020. Based on those Republicans and everything. Personally, if all goes smoothly into the 2020 election, I don't see Trump losing. I'll just be honest with you. On the left is where you're seeing the most divisiveness, though, okay? Nancy Pelosi's crew and the established Democrats or liberals in there are really on the outs with the far left in the party. That would include Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Bernie Sanders, Rashida Tlaib. There's a couple more in there too. But we're talking about avowed socialists in the party, okay, essentially. And the socialists linking arms with the Muslims and the radical Islamic agendas, and with countries that hate us, by the way, too, and trying to make friendships there. We have politicians that have been going on ambassador-type mission trips to other countries to form friendships and allyships with countries behind our government's back, especially the president, and trying to interfere with what he has going on. John Kerry did that recently. I think he did Iran, I'm sorry, one of those countries over there, and it's like, what the heck are you? You're not even in politics anymore, John Kerry. It's ridiculous. But it's certainly an interesting situation that we're dealing with within the parties. I don't know. What do we got going on here? Slippery slope, blah, 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 look up. I don't know why she said that. He said that. I don't know why why'd you say look up? Okay. One more article here, because I have a little extra time. I actually saw this. By the way, before I forget, this week we celebrated, or at least recognized, D-Day 75 years ago. Man, I might take up time with this instead. You know, I lost my grandfather a couple years ago, and unfortunately, right before I got married, which is about the time I hit more maturity, I'm still not totally mature, is when I was at the point in my life where I wanted to hear his stories in the Air Force during World War II. And unfortunately, right before I was able to see that in myself, to want that, he had a very, very bad stroke and was unable to speak anymore. It wasn't until around the time of his funeral, when I wrote his eulogy, that I found out that in the Air Force as an engineer or a mechanic on the B-17 Flying Fortress, in England, did he hold a record on base for fastest swap out of an engine for the plane. He was in a crash landing. He was in a crash takeoff. Just a few years before he had his stroke, we found out that he had a daughter in England. The woman he was staying with, things happened, and she had a baby. After he left, he never knew. And we found out that we had a whole other family over in England that we never knew about until that woman died, and his daughter searched through records trying to find out who her father was after finding the name Robert Ford in the attic and trying to search for him. Imagine how many of those names are out there in the United States alone. So it was very interesting. My point being this: we are running out of the great generation. And it's amazing that it was only 75 years ago that we stormed the beaches of Normandy and everything, and that we were involved in this world war. And we see this black and white footage. We watch movies like Saving Private Ryan of the storming of the beach that gives you this insane feel of what was going on in the just massacre on the beach. And what they went through in Bastogne and everything, going through the woods when you watch Band of Brothers, one of my favorite series. My point being, we're losing this generation. And if you happen to know a World War II veteran, sit down with them and get their story. If need be, if you have the opportunity. One of my goals in life at one point in time, and it still is, I honestly don't have the time for it anymore. I always wanted to sit down, run a camera, and just say, please tell me your story. What did you go through? What did you see? What do you want your family to know after you're gone? What was your experiences? What did you learn? When you came back, was it worth it? You know, do you feel like now when you look at what we're doing here, what we're doing in today's society, was it worth it, what you sacrificed? Is this what you sacrificed for? Are you happy with what's going on, or are you upset with it? I want an honest answer. And because we're losing that generation so fast, there's not many World War II veterans left. On the same scale, start talking to Vietnam veterans, right? The crazy thing about that is it seems like the Vietnam vets are less likely to talk to you about their stories than the World War II vets because of what they experienced over there. And, you know, if you have the ability to get them to talk about it, it would probably be worth it. I was actually going to go over a different topic for the ending topic there, but, you know, thank you to all the veterans out there. Thank you for fighting for the freedoms that we talk about on this show every single week. The freedom of speech, right? The freedom of religion, the freedom to bear arms, and every other amendment that goes with it. You know, I actually do know them, but we're already out of time. I just thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you sacrificed. I thank those that have passed. I thank those that sacrificed themselves over there. And we remember you, and we'll continue to remember you. We'll continue to thank you until the arrogant generation takes over and there's just nothing left for things to be taught in school anymore. So with that, I leave you. I appreciate everyone getting involved tonight. It was a great conversation. You guys really stepped up and helped me out since I didn't have a co-host with me. We'll see you next week. I will have the speech from the Second Amendment rally to play in next week's show. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, have a great night, and God bless America.